Hello and welcome. This is Chuck Holmes from parttimecommander.com. In today's short video, I want to educate you about doing a proper Army change of command inventory. This is a topic, it's definitely not sexy, but it's really important. If you're about to take command of a unit, you need to make sure that the property book is squared away before you sign it and you become 100% responsible for it. This is a topic that most of us, maybe we've had a little bit of training on it, but very minimal. And when you are about to take charge of a new company, you really don't know what you're doing. You're relying on the outgoing commander, the supply sergeant, some of the subject matter experts. And I will tell you this, you don't need to be an expert, but you do need to learn how to do an inventory the right way so that you can CYA and not end up owing the Army a bunch of money when you leave command because you can't find property that you were in charge of. So there are really two parts of this training. There's one for the incoming commander and there's one for the outgoing commander. Now, the incoming commander is really the tip of the spear during an inventory. They're working with the supply sergeant. They're working with the platoon sergeants or the section sergeants. They're getting guidance from the battalion commander and the property book officer. It's really their responsibility to identify the discrepancies, to make sure that everything they're signing for is there. The outgoing commander, he or she actually has a pretty chill job in this situation because they did this work on the front end before they took command. So if you are an incoming company commander, these are some of my tips that I recommend for you. And keep in mind, the regulation numbers, they do change from time to time. That's not what's important. You can get that from the PBO. What's important is the mindset and the process of what you need to do. So the first thing you want to do is you want to get with the battalion commander and the property book officer to get any specific guidance that they have for you prior to the inventory. And I'll tell you this, the PBO is a wealth of knowledge when it comes to inventories. This is their bread and butter. This is what they do. You want to pick their brain and learn everything you can from them. It will definitely shorten your learning curve. The next thing you want to do is you want to verify the master change of command inventory packet compiled by the outgoing commander to ensure it's accurate. So you want to look at the master change of command inventory, run that by the supply sergeant, run that by the PBO, make sure everything is good to go. The next thing you want to do is you want to review DAPAM 2530 to ensure the most current publications are available for when it comes to doing your inventory. If no publication is available, an inventory list will be created to account for components. So you're inventorying the item and the components, and you're doing that using either the manual or the current publication that tells you all the components and subcomponents of each piece of property that you're signing for. The next thing you want to do is you want to compare the property book against the sub-hand receipts to ensure all property is sub-hand receipted. So there's a master property list, and then if the supply sergeant did their job right, everything is going to be sub-hand receipted down. And if everything is sub-hand receipted down like it's supposed to, it's going to be much easier to do the inventory because you're going to basically inventory each section at a time. Maybe first platoon, you're going to complete their inventory, everything that's sub-hand receipted to them. Then you're going to go to second platoon, inventory everything that's sub-hand receipted to them, and then keep repeating this process until everything is complete. You also want to identify any equipment that's loaned outside the unit to ensure that it's on a valid hand receipt. Maybe your company loans something to another company. Maybe something is scheduled to be turned in. Maybe something is waiting to be picked up and it's on the property book. Well, you need to account for it. In my opinion, if you can't see it, it doesn't exist. So you have to be able to go and physically touch it to make sure it's there. Next, what you want to do is you want to conduct a 100% change of command inventory on the unit's property and report any discrepancies to the outgoing commander for resolution. So what you're doing your inventory. You're looking at the sub-hand receipts, you're looking at the components, the subcomponents, and you're keeping track of any errors that you have. So maybe this piece is missing or that piece is missing, and you have all that on a little list. What you're going to do when you're done is you're going to give that list to the outgoing company commander, and it's going to be their job to either give you a sit rep on those or to physically find those items for you or what have you. That's their job to fix that. Next, what you're going to do is you're going to verify any discrepancies prior to assuming responsibility. So you have your list of discrepancies. If you and the outgoing company commander can't figure it out, you need to get with the battalion commander and the PBO to figure out how you're going to resolve those discrepancies. Pretty simple. You have 30 days to conduct your change of command inventory. And if needed, you can get one 15-day extension. If you're prepared, this should take you about 2 to 3 weeks in most cases. Some units have a much smaller property book than others. Some have huge property books. I was in a maintenance company once. That property book was huge. It took the commander almost a month to do everything, and rightfully so. Once all the discrepancies are resolved, you can sign the new hand receipt acknowledging that you are now the primary hand receipt holder. Congratulations, you're now officially in charge of all the Army's equipment assigned to your company. If you are the outgoing commander, these are a few tips that I can recommend for you. Ensure the incoming commander has the people and the resources they need to conduct the inventory. Make sure your supply sergeant is designated. Make sure each platoon has people put aside to conduct with the inventory. You don't conduct an inventory with 1 or 2 people. It's normally 5 or 6 or 7 people. You want to schedule time on the training calendar so that there are people and resources available to do this. You want to ensure your supply sergeant has the sub-hand receipts, the shortage annexes, and the TMs accessible, updated, and ready. You can, what I would do is I would sit down with your supply sergeant about a month, maybe 2 months before you leave command, and be proactive and get these things updated, squared away, all in one place, so that when the change of command inventory starts, you don't have to scramble. These things are already in one place. You want to be accessible for questions during the inventory. Sometimes you're there with the incoming commander doing the inventory, not normally, but if they have questions, they need to be able to get in touch with you to get those things resolved. And then finally, you're fixing issues as they arrive. You're figuring out where that missing piece of equipment is so the incoming commander can touch it. Now, this is how things are supposed to work. But as many of you know, my training is really for National Guard and Army Reserve officers, not just active duty officers. So things are a little bit different in the National Guard. You're going to follow that same process, but you also have your civilian job, your family. You don't have 30 days typically full time to do an inventory because you're a part-time soldier. You're a citizen soldier. You're not doing this every day of the month like the active duty is. So you have to be even more organized. And this is a couple tips that helped me. So when I took command, I got with the supply sergeant. There was no outgoing commander, which is crazy. So I got with the supply sergeant. We got everything squared away. It took us a couple weeks to really do the inventory right. And I did touch every single thing, and that helped a lot. But this is some of my best tips. Number one, you really want to leverage the property book officer and the supply sergeant. They are the supply experts. You are not a supply expert as an officer or as a commander. That is the PBO. That is the supply sergeant. That is really your bread and butter. And you want to leverage their experience and their expertise. It doesn't mean you just take everything they say at face value. You still got to verify some things, but leverage them, leverage their experience, especially about a month or 2 before you take command. You can I would take the supply sergeant out to lunch or take the PBO out to lunch and pick their brain and say, hey, I'm about to do a change of command inventory. Can you give me some guidance? Can you give me some tips? You can also talk to former company commanders and learn from them. They are a wealth of knowledge, especially commanders who just took command or commanders who just left command. You could sit down and pick their brain for an hour or 2 about what they did right, what they did wrong with their inventory, what tips they have for you. You would gain a wealth of knowledge doing that. In closing, your change of command inventory is vital. You want to start your command the right way. If you don't account for your property, you will never get it fixed while you're in command. If you start right, it's a lot easier to end right. If you start with your property book in a mess, it's almost impossible to get it sorted during your time in command. And here's one last thing that I found. If you don't take your property seriously, you are going to owe Uncle Sam money at the end of your time in command because something's going to come up missing. Something's going to be unaccounted for. And ultimately, you are the one responsible for the property in your unit. Yes, you have a supply sergeant. Yes, you have sub-hand receipts and subordinate leaders, but it's ultimately your responsibility to make sure things are done right and things are done to standard. So get serious about supply, especially during your change of command inventory, especially during your exit change of command inventory. so that everything can be in order. Leverage the experts, be proactive, make it a priority till it's complete so that you can start right instead of having to start over later on down the road. So these are my best tips on a change of command inventory from a former commander's perspective. I'm not a supply sergeant, I'm not a PBO, but I did a incoming and outgoing change of command inventory. And these are some of the things that helped me. Before I close out this video, my name is Chuck Holmes. I'm a former Army officer, a former major, combat veteran, and I'm the founder and publisher here at parttimecommander.com. We are a resource for soldiers, NCOs, and officers in the National Guard, Army Reserve, and the Defense Force. And that's what my mission is. My mission is to educate, to train, to inspire people serving in one of those three things: the Army Reserve, the National Guard, or the Defense Force. And our website, parttimecommander.com, we have over 1,000 articles to help you do that. So I would encourage you to visit my website, parttimecommander.com. You can do a quick Google search to find it. We publish new videos and new articles quite frequently. If you have questions, you can reach out to me. Also, don't forget to subscribe to my channel, to like this video. Please leave a comment below. And then finally, in the description box below this video, you can access different resources, different links on my website that may be a benefit to you to learn more about this topic or other topics concerning officers, NCOs, and soldiers in the Guard and Reserve. So with that, thank you for checking out my video. Thank you for your service. I hope you have a great day.